Hello, welcome, episode 2, RM History.
Gonna be
How you doing,
great.
Josh? It's gonna be great.
Doing good. We just got through Christmas and got through New Year's.
We made
I
it.
hear your family had the grunge, the sickness.
The
We only
flu,
had runny
yes.
noses,
There you
thankfully,
go.
but it was
Well,
good.
it's great. We had a great Christmas and we're looking forward to doing this again. This episode 2 with you, Josh. And
Yeah.
if people are listening, I'm guessing they liked the first episode, so they're excited as well.
Yes. What does Dan Carlin say? If you're fine just jumping in without context, welcome to the episode. But if you haven't listened to episode 1, go back and do that if you want context for what we're talking about.
Or stay here because we're going to talk about the following. Do 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 do. Yeah, that's Living Scriptures, not the Superman theme. Not to be
very
confused with
close.
this. It's very close. Yeah, we're going to talk about Helaman Stripling Warriors, Josh, today.
Yes. This is probably the most well-known and most quoted. Some scriptures in here are the most quoted about the war chapters that I think we'll ever have. So,
Yeah.
if you like the Stripling Warriors, welcome. We're going to talk about a lot of things surrounding them and the context of the Stripling Warriors.
Yeah, I'll get into this later, but not so much the spiritual aspect, which is a super cool story. We're going to talk a bit more of again, 2 military history nerds talking about the Book of Mormon battles.
Yes.
And Josh, we covered this last time. This is this War of 7 years. Okay. And we are going to be focusing on what me and you call the Southern Front. Some people call it the Western Front. I don't think we need to go into details last time, but I think what's cool to point out about the Southern Front, which I think is going to be interesting, is most of the cities here seem to be landlocked. They're not next to a coast, as in the Eastern Theater, everything's by a coast. So, and I think this is important to bring up is because in ancient war and even war today, it's just vastly easier and more efficient to propagate a war over waterways instead of marching over land or driving nowadays, it's just less manpower, less time, less energy expended if you go via the water. So if it's available, you use it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the problem we have is there's no outright mention of water being used as logistics for the war in the Book of Mormon, right?
Right.
I mean, this isn't a historical document,
Yeah, Mormon's not going in and being like, oh, the only mention of a boat is Nephi's boat coming over and then Haggoth's boat going somewhere.
That's right. So Haggoth, I don't know how you pronounce it. So actually, it's right after the war is when he builds a seaworthy ship. I don't know what it means. And he goes
ark,
north.
the Book of Mormon ark.
I don't know, but I think several ships go. So it's we know they can navigate the waters.
Yes.
At least the open waters. I don't know about the rivers.
I think the geography of this story is especially interesting. I wish we had more details, and I'll probably 100%. Talk about it as we go. It's we'll get into it, but the geography of the area, but also what did the terrain look like? Were there hills? Was it a jungle? Mm-hmm. Was it a plain? Because that totally changes the dynamic of how anyway, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, not just the tactical or the day-to-day, but the strategic aspect too. I wish we did know more. But essentially, Southern Theater, Amron has taken 4 cities.
Yep.
And Moroni is here at the beginning, helping to fight it off. This is year 2 of the War of 7 years.
So it's Reign of the Judges, year 26, right, is where we're starting. So for those of you who follow along, we're in Alma chapter 56, and this is the epistle that Helaman has sent to Moroni about what has happened since Moroni left to go fight up in the Eastern Theater. I think that's the context we need to give, and I want to kind of give a little backstory of the Stripling Warriors before they get here. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes.
So Stripling Warriors, right? We all know about them. But I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the parents of the Stripling Warriors. The Lamanites, the people of Ammon, or the Anti-Nephi Lehis, years ago, they had defected probably, I don't know what, 15 to 18 years ago. We know. And they were given lands near Zarahemla. So these Lamanites, they got converted to the gospel. They left. They went to Zarahemla. The Nephites were like, welcome, we love you. Here's the land of Jershon. These people, the people of Ammon, had taken an oath to never take up weapons of war again. And in the ancient world, oaths are very important. It's like the only way that you can do things a lot of times. So they swore an oath of peace. So fast forward, we'll say 20 years is probably less than that. I think
it's 11. It's like, I think it's about 10.
I think they were teenagers who were fighting.
12.
Anyway, 10 and 12. So fast forward to now and put yourself in the Amorite shoes, okay? They are surrounded by very angry Lamanites on the east. Like 6 cities just got annihilated by the Lamanites. And now on the south, the 4 cities that Amron took over, Zarahemla had just recovered from the kingmen. And so the Amorites they're in central, I assume, and they are getting very antsy of like, okay, these Lamanites that we ran away from are very angry. And if they come here, they're going to kill us all. Like we're all going to be dead. And Teancum had just barely stopped the Lamanite advance in Bountiful. Amron was coming up from the south.
Yeah.
And so verse 7, I want to read Alma chapter 6, verse 7.
Okay.
But in the 26th year, when they saw our afflictions and our tribulations for them, this is the people of Ammon, they were about to break the covenant which they had made to take up their weapons of war in our defense. So these people, very able-bodied, veteran troops, right? They had fought all the time as Lamanites. Like they were good at fighting, but they had sworn an oath that they wouldn't go fight. Like if I was that person, I'd be very tempted to break my oath and go fight. Be like, we're going to die if I don't go fight. And so like the pressures on the people of Ammon were intense, and I'm surprised that they kept their oath. But then their teenage sons were like, hey, we didn't take the oath. We can go fight. Like, my dad and my grandparents, they can provide food, which is very important. Food, armies run on food, the stomach.
Yeah.
But able-bodied men, they sent their teenagers out. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway, I just want to give that context of like put myself in their situation. Like it would be so tempting to break my oath and go fight if I was them.
And I think it hits different too. You got sons, you got boys. They're not teenagers.
Yeah, I got 3. Right? I got 3 kids. Once they're teenagers, I'd be like, I don't want you to go fight. You do the farm. I'll go fight. Like what the heck?
Yeah. I mean, so were they teenagers? I know they were young men. You know.
I think in seminary they said young. I think the oldest could have been like 17, 18. Yeah. So like,
which in the ancient world is actually pretty old.
Yeah.
You know,
it's teenagers, but
yeah, whatever that means. And I think, and as far as the military goes, I think we can say the Stripling Warriors and Helaman are very green.
Yeah.
To war. They're
super green.
Super green. And they they get dispatched to the Southern Theater sometime during year 2. We don't know exactly when. We know that Moroni is down there, and maybe he leaves before Helaman gets there or soon thereafter. We don't exactly know.
I think Moroni's gone by the time Helaman comes because...
You think so?
He says Antipas is in charge, right?
Yeah, but I guess what I don't know is maybe Moroni left Antipas in charge of Judah, and he's in a different city in the southern front, and then went up to Zarahemla. We just don't know. Yep. Suffice it to say, Antipas is in charge, and his guys are weary. They are combat-weary troops, right? They've been at least fighting most of the last year. They've lost 4 cities.
Yep.
I guess in a modern war, they probably would have been cycled out for rest and refit, you know. I don't know if Helaman's the first reinforcements they ever got to the southern front.
I don't know. But I think the scriptures put it well here. Verse 16, yea, and they were depressed in body as well as in spirit, for they had fought valiantly by day and toiled by night to maintain their cities, and thus they had suffered great afflictions of every kind. And now they were determined to conquer in this place or die. Therefore you may well suppose that this little force which I brought with me, yea, these sons of mine, gave them great hopes and much joy. So I think you're right. This could be the only reinforcements they've ever received. And with that, the way they said it, like they're going to die here, this kind of gets into what did the military look like in Nephi. I think this is a militia force, 100% militia of like, these are the locals of like, we got to live here or all of our women and children are going to die. Like, I think that's what's going on in the Southern Front.
Yeah, you think the stakes are pretty high. Like, and it's only mentioned in one of these cities, I think Nephi, later in the war, that is what we would call sacked, or like many people are killed and probably raped and other things. That's just kind of
ancient warfare.
Ancient warfare. You take a city and it's just nasty things that happen. It's not really mentioned a lot, but I wonder if that was a factor. I don't know. To your point, like, yeah, this is serious business, and they're tired. So will they get there? This is the year 2, and it kind of gets into a little bit of their general strategy now. Antipas and Helaman. And side note, I don't know how high in the hierarchy Helaman actually is. Like, eventually, it comes out he's about over 20% of the Judah garrison. So I don't know how high up he actually is, right? But this is Antipas's plan and his crew.
Yeah.
That the idea is like, okay, because when Helaman arrives, Ammoron calls off any further offensive action. Last episode, I gave Moroni a lot of grief for the situation the Nephites were in. The 6 cities in the east, the 4 cities in the south, 10 cities taken. I gave him a lot of grief for that, like a strategic disaster. But in another way, especially on the southern front, I think you could say it was a successful defense in depth, which protects against attack by using multiple layered defensive measures rather than relying on a single strong line. And I think this is hinted at later, but Ammoron, he calls off the offensive, and I think it's mostly because he's just out of gas. Like, he's expended all his muscle, his manpower for these 4 cities. And so he finds himself, that many armies have found themselves in, that he has an army on foreign soil, and he has to attrit the enemy on their home turf. That's very hard. So strategically, the Lamanites Ammoron's not in a good spot either. No, nobody is.
Right. I mean, to your point, we're assuming this is a landlocked area, and it's really hard to resupply himself. Like, all the cities he took over, but I think when the Book of Mormon says cities, they're also talking about surrounding farms and countryside, wherever that might look like. And so they exhausted all the flocks? Have they exhausted all the stores of the people? Like, they have to raid or they die, basically. Like, the Lamanites have to do something too.
Right. Anyway, so a common theme for armies in this situation is like, they have very long, overextended supply lines and demands when you're trying to propagate a war on foreign soil like this.
Yep.
Now, what Antipas is hoping is that the Lamanites keep trying to take more cities, that they actually go past Judah, because Judah is the strongest. They hope the Lamanites bypass Judah and go further north and attack some of the other cities. And their hope is to come out of Judah and squish them between the fortifications or that garrison, and just take them out in the open.
Yep.
This never happens. The Lamanites aren't dumb. They're not doing it.
They're out.
They just don't.
I think you're right. I mean, we could read the verses, but I think Judah, in my opinion, with the landlocked area, I think it's potentially mountainous, and potentially there's like a pass, and Judah's there. It's like if you get through the pass, you'll get down into Zarahemla area and the breadbasket of the Nephite lands, right? So I bet it's very well defended, and it's a key area. So that's where we're at, right?
I wouldn't say it's at the top of the mountain pass or like at the end of it. I wonder if it's further in. I think you're right. It's like you have to contend with it before you go down into the.
You can't leave the garrison in Judah, or you will be surrounded. Yeah,
right. You can't bypass it. So the Lamanites don't. They don't have the manpower to do it, right? But then what happens is now we get into year 3, month 2, and the Nephites receive another 2,000 men or reinforcements. And that's when the Lamanites start getting restless.
Yeah.
And what does it exactly say? Let's see, I can pull it up here.
It came to pass, second month of this year, they brought unto us many provisions from the fathers of those 2,000 sons, and they also sent 2,000 men unto us from the land of Zarahemla. And thus we were prepared with 10,000 men and provisions for them, and also for their wives and their children. This brings a point. Why the heck are the wives and children coming with those 2,000 men? Are they like colonizing? Like why are they coming?
Well, it was in reference to the full 10,000, or was it?
Okay, for the full 10,000.
Yeah, because like we mentioned before, there's guys that are probably their families are refugees, maybe in Judah, and you have to supply for the civilians as well. You know.
Yeah, the way it's phrased, it made it seem like the reinforcements brought people with it. But I think you're right. It's probably the people who are already there, their wives and children.
Right. Antipas notices. I'm just going to say Antipas and Helaman. Okay. Antipas and Helaman notice the Lamanites are getting restless, and they're like, there may be an opportunity here. Yes. Who knows? Maybe Moroni planted the seed of what he's doing, but the whole idea is like, we got to bait him out, right? We got to bait him out.
Because Balamelech in the Eastern Theater has not happened yet.
Right. Right. It has not happened yet. It'll happen the next year. Anyway, but so they concoct this plan. We actually don't. We know that Helaman was supposed to pretend to be a supply force going past Antipara, which is where the Lamanites are, the city of Antipara, to the west coast, to the city by the sea.
They have to go to the sea. Yes.
Yeah. And the idea is that they will bait out the Antipara garrison, and that in the open they can be destroyed. Now, what were the details of the plan? You know, like the Living Scriptures implies that the Nephites didn't want Helaman to get involved at all. You know, like perhaps that was
your kids. We don't want these kids to die. I mean, in my opinion, it makes sense. Like send the most green troops and use them as the decoy. They will not get in the fighting because Antipas will come in and hit the Lamanites, right?
Right, and tackle them somehow, right?
Yeah, we'll catch up.
So perhaps that was it. I do wonder, though, if it was like, well, maybe they were supposed to be involved, right? Perhaps they were going to do a kind of a hammer anvil thing, right? Because that's what the previous plan was before. Yeah. That they would get him in the open and squish him. So perhaps, Antipas, the larger force, is going to be the anvil. I guess for people that know what I'm talking about, hammer and anvil, I think the whole idea is that one force holds the enemy in place and you get another force to pound them and squish them on either side.
It's usually infantry and cavalry, but in this case, it's just all infantry, we assume.
Yeah. And in this case, I mean, you think if it was cavalry, they would mention horses a lot more.
They would, yeah.
I don't think there's enough horses.
Hey, anyway. What's that one picture in the Book of Mormon of Helaman on a horse? Isn't that like not accurate at all?
You think it would be mentioned more if there were a lot of horses there. Anyway, but so perhaps Antipas is this anvil. They have the strength to withstand the strongest resistance to the Lamanites, and then perhaps Helaman's little army is the hammer that's gonna kind of seal the deal. Harkening back to Moroni, though, he had three forces. Okay.
Yes, there's key differences.
He had bait and a hammer and an anvil, right? Antipas just has a bait doubling as a hammer, if that's his plan.
And here's the thing: the bait and the hammer is green troops.
Right.
They keep coming back. It's green, totally. And Helaman has no idea what he's doing. He's a prophet. He's not a commander. What's he doing? So
Moroni's taken Lehi, and he has the A team.
He has last time. Yeah. He has the.
He left Antipas with these green guys.
Yeah. It's a very complicated maneuver that Moroni could pull off because he had really good commanders, and Tiankum was the decoy, and his troops were really good. They knew what they were doing. Helaman, his troops have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Antipas is like, I have a bunch of randos, a bunch of old men trying to protect their families, some Zarahemla guys. He's trying to do what he can, but this is so risky with the level of experience.
Right. We don't know exactly what Antipas's army consisted of. You're right. It could be old men or something, but I think there's enough hints here to be like, he doesn't have quite the same team.
Yeah. It's the militia force, in my opinion.
And this is good too, because my worry with this episode was people would think I was just dissing on Antipas the whole time, but I think he's just up against some different things. For example, I mean, speaking of criticism, I'm going to be like, so Antipas, with this whole plan, he actually leaves a sizable garrison back in Judah. We don't know how much, but I do wonder if Moroni was here, if he would have taken that garrison and used it as a third force.
Like,
you
you
know,
got to
just
use
commit.
all the troops you have. Yeah.
Risk reward. You got to do this. But
Yeah.
Antipas didn't. You know, what Patton say, George Patton in World War II, in his memoirs, he was like, fixed fortifications are monuments to men's stupidity. You know, there's this whole idea in war that, you know, war's about movement and initiative. And perhaps, and Antipas, he just kind of had one foot. To be clear, I probably would have done the same thing as Antipas.
Yeah. Look at us armchair generals over here.
Yeah.
We're saying like a good defense is a good offense. Like that's StarCraft talk right there. Like
it's easy to say. There's women and children in this city.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But also what's happening here is, so if you're going to split your forces, you should probably just do it all the way. He doesn't have a lot of flexibility with just Helaman and Antipas right now.
Yeah.
And there's this thing in military strategy called like a force multiplier. I don't know if you heard of this, but basically it's anything that increases the combat effectiveness of a force without increasing its size. Okay. So, like, for example, if you have a tank platoon and a platoon of soldiers of infantry, if you separate them, you know, one's probably worth 5, the other's worth 2. But you combine them together and have them do an offensive together. It's not 5 plus 2. It's actually more like a value of 15 now. They just multiply themselves because they're different strengths.
Strength and weaknesses balance out. That's like in Axis and Allies when we play that game. You never send in the tanks by themselves. You always bring infantry to soak up the damage.
Right. And I think there's actual military reasons for it too, besides the game. But yeah.
I only talk in games. Axis and Allies are both.
So, and the thing, what I'm getting at too is like, I think like Moroni did this in Mulek. He had the same amount of troops and he split them off into different forces, 2 infantry forces that work together you multiply the value of your military force. You can do that by splitting them. Okay.
Yes.
But the opposite is also true. You could, if you split them and you don't use them effectively, it's a force divider. You lose
defeat in detail. Yep.
Right. And so we're kind of setting the stage for the near disaster that's about to happen, right, Josh?
Yes. What is the disaster? What happened?
Yeah, what happened? So they implement the plan. Helaman's walking by with his Stripling Warriors, and the garrison comes out to chase them. And so why do they come out? Last time we talked about, well, it's a valid tactic to go out and take out a small force if it's there. It's also hard to hold back an army from prey. You know, if they're running, that's hard to do. We talked about this last time. I want to bring up our friend David E. Spencer, though, from last time. So he has this theory that the Antipara garrison is heavily reliant on the supplies coming from the sea. Okay, like there seems to be an entrance from the sea to Antipara. There also seems to be an entrance to Zarahemla by Manti, which is on the other side of the Southern Theater, you know, overland. And going back to my whole thing about, okay, maybe waterways and it's a much shorter distance there. And so he theorizes that, based off the layout, that Antipara is heavily reliant on the supply route. Then the current Nephite garrison at this city on the west coast probably isn't strong enough to really like interrupt or truly threaten that supply route. Yeah. But the moment you get another 2,000 guys there to that garrison, all of a sudden that west coast can pinch off that supply. Okay. And so this is what he says here. This force, we got Dan Carlin. Dan Carlin was.
Good luck.
This force, Helaman's army, would be strong enough to defend the city by the sea and launch raids against the Lamanite supply line. Thus, the garrison of Antipara felt compelled to destroy them before they reached the fortifications, behind which they could have held off a large army for some time. The Nephite garrison had to crush Helaman's army with overwhelming force before they could become a significant threat.
Okay.
Interesting theory. Okay.
Supply lines. That is interesting.
But what happens, right? The disaster starts to unfold. The Lamanites don't follow Antipas's plan, whatever it exactly was.
Well, we don't know what it was.
Right. But apparently this was not it. Verse 37 was, when they saw the army of Antipas pursuing them with their might, they did not turn to the right nor to the left. but pursued their march in a straight course after us, Helaman. And as we suppose it was their intent to slay us before Antipas should overtake them, and this that they might not be surrounded by our people. So, the enemy always has a say in your plans, right? And Antipas's plan, like we've talked about before, seems to have no contingency. Right?
It's like, whoever said it, maybe people say Napoleon said it, a battle plan only works until the first shot is fired. Like, as soon as Helaman leaves, the plan is already not working the way it should. Because he's going out, Lamanites come, they start chasing him. Helaman goes north. I don't know if he's supposed to go north.
Right.
He was going west, but he's going north. And so now Antipas is like, oh crap, I got to chase these guys. And I'm so curious how the geography looked here. Like, was it across a mountain? Was there another mountain pass they're going through? Was it?
I think eventually it is a wilderness. I think eventually
some
it is
kind
a
of wilderness. Yeah.
Which to me means limited visibility and hard to travel.
Okay, so like forest, jungle type stuff, depending on where we think, what camp you are of the Book of Mormon geography.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Lamanites are pursuing Helaman. Antipas tries to catch them, and they don't. And it's just like a cat, mouse, dog game, right? And it's day one, and they just go until they're tired.
A whole day.
A whole day.
Forced march. Like forced marches. That's crazy.
Okay. Now, wake up, day 2. Before dawn, the Lamanites wake up and go after Helaman again. And Helaman freaks out and flees.
Because Helaman's the weaker force. Yeah,
right.
Helaman's the weaker one.
He's like, I got these teenagers or whatever they are. Antipas follows. Cat, mouse, dog game once again. And they go until nighttime and they go to bed. Two days. So we have 2 full days. And I'm like, what was the plan? What was the contingency? Like, did they not think this? Like
where's the hammer and the anvil? Like, what's going on here?
Or didn't Antipas be like, Helaman, if they go after you, then do this? But it seems like they didn't. I don't know if they had the plan, you know? Like, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that's what seems to be happening.
I mean, I bet Antipas is there and he's like, oh, crap. Like, this is like, we're in deep trouble. Something. Because, like, 3 days of March, that was day 3, and they're still pursuing. Right?
Well, I have a little bit more to say here.
Okay, go.
Before we go into day 3. So, end of day 2. And just going back to, like, there was no contingency. Going back, I'm glad we started with Moroni, because we could give the example of how it goes well. But with Moroni's plan and his 3 different forces, he had a lot of contingency. Like, either Lehi or Moroni's force could have been the anvil. Either one could have handled a punch by the Lamanite force and waited for the other to arrive.
Yeah.
You know? And they had the extra bait force. And Moroni wrapped it all up in one day. Right? And so, like, in war, that you can do this. Is the idea is like this chess metaphor where you force your enemy's hand. Like, no matter what they do, they're going to do something that is better for you. You know, and what Clausewitz says it. War is War is thus an act of force to compel our enemy to do our will.
Because it's like, in chess, you said chess. In chess, you want to do the fork with your knight piece, right? You want to be able to take out the rook or the bishop, but your opponent has to choose of like, either way, I'm losing something. So like Moroni, he made that happen. It's like, you're either losing the city or you're losing your army. Which one? Well, the Lamanites lost both.
Right.
In this one, Antipas is like, the Lamanites are not going to lose anything.
Right now, the Nephites are panicking, right? The Lamanites are imposing dilemmas on them, right? And they're like, oh, what do we do? You know? So,
and Antipas can't talk to Helaman because there's a huge army in between them.
Yeah. And I don't think they have horses.
They don't have horses. They don't have flag people.
Anyway, so let's wake up. Day 3. Again, before dawn, the Lamanites go after Helaman. Okay? Let's see what it says here. But it came to pass that Mormon says, but it came to pass that they did not pursue us far before they, Helaman says, sorry.
Yeah.
And they did not pursue us far before they halted. And it was in the morning of the 3rd day of the 7th month. This is July. It's the 3rd day.
Yeah. It's very hot.
Well, we don't know. Yeah.
We don't know, but it's probably hot.
And now, whether they were overtaken by Antipas, we knew not. But I said unto my men, behold, we know not, but they have halted for the purpose that we should come against them, then that they might catch us in their snare. Anyway, so again, what was the plan? Helan's essentially saying, I have no idea what's happening. They have no idea what's going on. Okay, verse 44. Therefore, what say ye, my sons? Will you go against them to battle? Yes. That does sound a bit more democratic than we're probably used to in the modern age, but some ancient armies were actually pretty democratic. Citizen soldiers, elected officers, etc. Right. So what do they choose to do, Josh? They do choose to attack.
The sons are like, let's do it. We got to save them. But which is good. Like, thank goodness they turned around. But like that, it goes back to the question, like, what was the plan? Because if they turn around now, they could be walking into an ambush, right? This Lamanite army is more experienced than the Nephites. Like, we can see that now a little bit, right? The Lamanites they have more reconnaissance. They know where the Helaman's going. They know Antipas is coming behind him. Helaman doesn't have reconnaissance. All he sees is a big cloud of dust that's following him, and then it's stopped. It's like, oh no, the Lamanites aren't.
Or maybe nothing. Maybe it's thick forest or jungle.
Yeah, who knows? Like what's the reconnaissance of these armies? I feel like the Lamanites, they seem to have better awareness of what's happening than the Nephites do.
Or at the very least, Helaman doesn't know what's going on.
Helaman doesn't know what's happening.
And he's green. We talk about it. He's just green.
Green commander. Like he's a great prophet, but man, he struggled on this one.
So they turn around and ends up, okay, looks like the Lamanites and Antipas are duking it out. So Helaman seems to imply that Antipas caught up with the Lamanites. And that's hard for me to picture. I mean, what does he say? Verse 49. And now behold, the armies of Antipas had overtaken them. So yeah. Why? How could he have done that?
How could Helaman know that?
No. Well, yeah, but like, let's say Antipas did catch up with them. Is it just like everyone's running to look behind? Oh, look, there they are. I guess we stop and turn around. So I guess what I'm getting at is David Spencer. He kind of points out that the Lamanites laying a trap is also possible.
Yeah, the ambush. Oh.
Like their own ambush. They spring their own trap, you know. Perhaps, and he says this, perhaps they sent like a smaller force to spook Helaman into the woods because they knew Helaman was just going to run. And so maybe they did that and they set up an ambush for the Nephites. And let's see, what does he say? Caution would have slowed Antipas down. This made him and his army easy targets for an ambush. And by the way, anytime, if I was a Lamanite, anytime you can choose the battlefield, that's a super great thing to do.
Because while they were running,
what do you think?
Yeah, the Lamanite commander, whoever it was it Amaron at this time? I don't know.
Yeah, he wasn't there. No,
he wasn't in this.
We don't know who the Lamanite commander was.
Like, he had 2 days of running to be like, okay, here's what's going on. What can I do here? And so maybe it was he set up this ambush for Antipas because the way that Helaman phrased it in his epistle is that the armies of Antipas had overtaken the Lamanites and a terrible battle had commenced. So It makes it seem like Antipas had maybe marched through the night to get to the Lamanites sooner.
Perhaps. And maybe they surprised. Maybe they did surprise the Lamanites somehow.
Yeah, but then it's like, next verse 50, the army of Antipas being weary because of their long march in so short a space of time, were about to fall into the hands of the Lamanites.
Yeah, can you imagine? We're here to kill you. Hold on. You know? So I'm going to do a quick comparison back to Mulek here to set the scene for this battle. Like, if you're a stripling warrior and you go out and you see what's happening. So last episode, I went through this checklist of all the things that the Lamanites had going against them. But let's go through that same checklist this time. So Lamanites are in the open. Yes, that's true. Yes. Okay. Lamanites are surrounded. Well, now that's true that Helaman's here, but not before. They've been split up at this point, and the Nephites have been gobbled up quite a bit in detail. Right. Yep. This is kind of the worst possible outcome so far. So they are surrounded now, but not previously. The Lamanites are gassed, but everyone is gassed. Probably Antipas most of all.
Yes.
Yeah. Lamanites are shanking. Maybe, but I think they're possibly laid a trap. Nephites are fresh. Nobody is fresh in this one. You know, so I just did that side by side to be like, with Moroni, it was like this checklist of everything that was going right.
He picked them apart in Mulek. Yeah.
Yeah. But in this one, it's just not going smooth.
So if you were Helaman, would you have turned around? Like, because we skimmed over the scriptures of where it's like, and they had great faith that God would save them and everything, and then the Stripling Warriors went back. If you were Helaman and maybe didn't have the word of God telling you what to do, like, would you turn back, or would you be like, guys, we got to cut our losses, we got to rope back to Judea and help the garrison? Like,
I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be less brave.
Because that'd be terrifying. You're green troops. Like, I keep coming back. These are green troops. You're sending them back in. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they had faith. They had great faith.
They did it. And so they slam into the rear of the Lamanite force. And all of a sudden, oh, look, this hammer anvil thing is happening. You know?
But a little bit too late.
A little late. You know, not too late, as we'll see. Like, so...
Yeah.
And props to, we just talked about this, props to Helaman for not following the script the Lamanites put on him. Once again, the Lamanites may have forgotten this, that Helaman has a say in their plans too. You know,
they may not have thought they would turn around. They're like, oh, those guys, they're gone. Like, we chased them off, so they didn't plan for a rear attack.
Perhaps this Lamanite commander's thinking, or afterwards he thought, man, if only I would have sent, like, if I would have committed a small force just to keep them running, I could have won that battle. You know, perhaps he should have done that, but Lamanites didn't do that. And Helaman didn't follow the script that they had. So, and the battle commences. And I wanted to do this, Josh.
Okay.
So, when we were little and we watched the Living Scriptures movie, we picked characters that we were. Do you remember this?
Yes. Wasn't I the chubby one?
You were the chubby one.
I was the chubby guy. Yeah.
You were the chubby one. I was the skinny, almost useless one. You know, like, so I kicked a guy in the face, but then I pulled the other guy behind me and you slammed him with the shield.
Yes.
I remember Nate was a cool guy. Aaron was a cool guy.
Yes.
Asher was a cool guy. You know, I wonder if there's like this psychoanalysis of brother dynamics that you can do across LDS.
Like, which one? Which Helaman Stripling Warrior were you in the Living Scripture? You were the chubby one? Okay, you're like this.
Were you the useless skinny one? Okay, you're this one.
You're this guy.
Anyway, maybe listeners can relate to that. All right. Okay, but then the battle commences and
keeps going.
It's over?
Well, I find it interesting. Verse 52 and 53, Mormon takes over. He starts summarizing the epistle. Like, this is not Helaman talking anymore.
Yeah. Right.
Pursuing a great vigor, Helaman came upon their rear with his 2,000 and began to slay them exceedingly, insomuch that the whole army of the Lamanites halted and turned upon Helaman. And I mean, if you were the Lamanites, like we talked about this, like hammer and anvil, it's finally happening. It'd be terrifying to see these teenagers coming at you, like super mad and just like killing your friends. And you're like, what the heck? These little kids are killing me. Like, that psychology of the battlefield, that'd be kind of crazy. So
yeah, it would be like, I don't know. Yeah, I wonder what it was like. I wonder if they did look terrifying. You know, I mean, apparently.
Did they like get Lamanite face paint from their heritage or something? You know, like, what are these guys doing? These Stripling Warriors, like.
I also wonder how old the Lamanite force was too. We say teenagers and stuff, but I wonder how common that was. You know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, so they fought with mighty power, and the Lamanites actually surrender. Right?
They surrender.
And the crazy thing is, like, no Stripling Warriors had been killed. None of them had died. Well, before we get there, what happened? The Nephites also rallied.
Yes, Antipas's people rallied. Antipas was dead. A lot of their chief captains were dead. So Antipas's force was basically gone, but then they could rally. Yeah, so they rallied and came back.
And boom, Lamanites surrendered. So
it's like Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. The Rohirrim comes down from the slopes. Gandalf, Helaman with the light shining in the Uruk-hai's eyes. And then the garrison of Helm's Deep comes out with Theoden. Man, it's like somatic. Like, this was such a somatic moment.
Yeah, pretty
so cool.
Somatic moment, yes. And what I did was, I think there's a lot of historical examples of a little unreliable force kind of carrying the day. Okay. In fact, there's plenty, but my favorite one is probably the Battle of Chattanooga in the Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah, you read that book, didn't you?
I read the book. Yeah. So good.
Jeff Shara, great book. So no one expected big things from the Army of Cumberland, the Union Army, right? They were ordered to take the base of Missionary Ridge and stay there. They weren't trusted to do anything else, right? And General Sherman, was supposed to hit the flank and was supposed to carry the day. But he gets bogged down and his men can't cut through and it's not looking good. But then the Army of Cumberland, the guys that weren't supposed to do anything, on their own volition, against officers' orders, like they decided to attack straight up this hill.
Go right up this massive hill.
Right up the hill. And they charged up the hill and they took it against all expectations and they carried the day, you know? And so there's just plenty of other historical examples of green troops or like unreliable, the ones that weren't supposed to do anything, carrying the day. Like they pull it out, you know? What's also interesting, I also look for like, how common was it for like no deaths?
I had that same question.
Yeah.
Has that happened before?
So I know there is one so it's called the Miracle at Gapyeong. It's actually a Utah National Guard artillery unit. You can actually Google it, look it up there at the artillery unit 213th. So they found themselves, this is the Korean War. They found themselves fighting on the front lines, 4,000 Chinese or so, heavy fighting, but ultimately 0 deaths. You know, wow. There were 0 deaths from these guys. And they got actually a presidential unit citation for their actions there by President Truman. People can look it up. I think there's other modern war stories like that, like 0 casualties, but it's usually at the company or platoon level, you know, for like limited or intense engagements, like what I just talked about. Like that can happen. I can't quite find one like this ancient one.
I mean, it's miraculous. I mean, the only one I think of was it the city of Noah when the Lamanites tried to take it, but none of the Nephites died because they're so well armored and such heavy fortifications. I think it was Noah.
I know they got wounded. I know. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. I think they did have some casualties.
Yeah, I mean, casualties.
Well, I meant deaths. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, deaths is different than casualties. I think a lot of them fainted with the loss of blood, or maybe that was the next battle.
Yeah, a lot of the Stripling Warriors were casualties.
They got hurt. Wounded. They got hurt a lot, but none of them died, which is miraculous. And this reminds me of when I was in high school. Instead of Trek one year, we did Book of Mormon Adventures. And they set up this whole thing of like, we did battles and stuff, and it was like capture the flag, except it was like flag football. You pull someone's flag, they're dead. So they recreated this battle, and I don't remember what side it was on. I think it was the Lamanite side. The Stripling Warriors had tied their things to them, so they weren't Velcroed. They were tied. Their flags were tied, and so we had to like go in there and like run in there and try to get them. That we couldn't pull them off, and we got slaughtered because they pulled our tags just easy. And it was like, it like stuck with me. I'm like, holy crap. Like that would be terrifying. Like you can't kill these guys. They're just slaughtering you. Anyway.
Well, they are wounding some, right? You know, some are
they're hurting them.
They're hurting them, but yeah. But I mean, they win. The Nephites and the Stripling Warriors win.
They win.
But a lot of Nephite commanders have died, right? And in fact, so much so that Helaman is now in command.
Yikes.
Know? And like I said before, he was only over 20% of the full contingent of the army, right? Of his 2,000 men. There were 10,000 Nephites total. So all of a sudden, this guy's number one. Green Helaman's number one.
And he's the one who asked, he asked 18-year-olds, hey, should we go back and fight? Like, now he's in charge.
He's in charge. Great guy.
Go Helaman. Team Helaman.
Yeah, Team Helaman. Anyway, and so, I mean, to wrap it up, so Helaman sends a portion of Antipus's men, what's left of them, to escort the prisoners to Zarahemla. Okay, and then he goes back to Judah. Okay, so the city of Antipara has not been taken at this point.
The army has been taken care of. So doing your checklist side by side with Battle of Mulek, Moroni got the army and the city. Antipus and Helaman only got the army. They did not get the city.
Well, so what happens next, and maybe we can skim through this pretty quick, is after the battle, Amram sends an epistle to Helaman, right? And he's like, he pitches the idea of a prisoner exchange. Like, hey, you give me prisoners. If you give me my men back, I will give you the city of Antipara, right? And then Helaman's like, no, I'm not doing that. And what's interesting is going back to what I was talking about at the beginning, Amram probably just, because what happened here is similar to Mulek, all of a sudden this great this largest garrison of the theater, the southern theater, is now off the table, and now Amron just doesn't have a lot of guys anymore.
He doesn't. Yep.
And again, he's trying to propagate this war on foreign soil, so he needs men desperately because he doesn't have enough men to supply and hold all of these cities. Because every city you have to divide your force again and be in a stagnant defense, which George Patton thinks is stupid.
Yes.
So again, the common theme: long, overextended supply lines. That's what Amron's experiencing right now. And so what happens, right, is Helaman says no, and then Amron pulls out of Antipara anyways.
Yeah.
Because he knows he can't hold the city. He can't do it.
He's trying to. He's calling. I guess Helaman called his bluff. He's like, no,
right?
Because didn't Helaman say, "Hey, you're trying to do a 1-for-1 trade, but you have lots of women and children. Those don't count as much." I think that was Moroni. Guys. Was that Moroni? Okay,
that was different.
Okay.
Anyway, so final results. So they did take the city, right? So just like in Mulek, like I said, the Lamanites here, the Antipara garrison is gone. The offensive potential of the Lamanites is out, and the Nephites' offensive potential is still intact. It's bruised, right? Helaman's now in charge, but he just got his feet wet, and I think he knows a bit more what he's doing now.
Yeah.
So the Nephite offensive potential is intact.
Yep, and the Stripling Warriors, imagine the morale boost. I think it mentions it, but the Nephites are like, holy cow, these green troops they didn't die.
Right.
Like the psychological effect, we've talked about this throughout the thing, psychological effect on the Nephites, they just got a huge boost to their morale because of the Helaman Stripling Warriors.
I guess just for fun, what would have happened if Helaman had just kept running? Like strategically, what would have happened? I was kind of thinking that through. It would be the opposite. The Nephites would have lost their offensive potential. They'd be stuck in these cities. Perhaps the city by the sea would have fallen. I don't know if Amron had enough oomph to keep going into Zarahemla or not, but what did happen, right? What actually happened was the Nephites made this incremental gain in this attritional war on the southern front.
They broke the stalemate.
They broke the stalemate. Yeah. And so I'm sure Antipas in the afterlife, Josh, in Spirit Paradise is going to grab both our ears and be like, now listen here, you two. This is
you idiots.
This is what happened, Like again, we've been armchair generals here, just kind of saying, well, you probably should have done this.
But you know what? Yeah. I bet Antipas is like, wow, people are talking about me. They're interested in my life. Like, we're gonna have a few of these commanders lined up to meet us. It's gonna be great. Like, I'm gonna go to their seminars in heaven. It's gonna be great.
I would be thrilled to talk with Antipas, and what a guy, Like, well done. He did the best he could, and he was in
he died fighting.
He died fighting.
He died fighting. So sad.
So anyway, I hope people don't interpret us criticizing it as like dissing on this awesome dude, Antipas, or even Helaman too. We gave him a hard time, and he'd be like, guys, I was green. I had no idea what I was doing. And that's fine. So, and maybe to wrap it up here, I like what David E. Spencer said in his book, Moroni's Command. And my voice is kind of tired, so I'm not going to do the Dan Carlin thing. This account rings authentic, because this account of this battle, because it illustrates many well-known principles of war, like the difficulties of carrying out complicated maneuvers and the problems of inexperienced officers leading green armies. It also shows how an enemy doesn't always react as expected, even with the best laid plans. I would argue they're not the best plans, but he says, finally, it demonstrates how plans can succeed despite Murphy's Law. Apparently, everything went wrong with their plan. The tactical offensive maneuvers, and no doubt some amount of divine guidance, saved the day. Right. And again, I think we don't talk about spiritual lessons on here, very much. And I hope people don't interpret our criticism of the plan and the Stripling Warriors as dissing.
All you have to say is God was in charge. He knew what was happening. I'm like, okay, great. But we have to do our part.
But here's a different spiritual lesson I get.
Okay.
And so here I have it here. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, we may actually still be making wrong choices in very tricky situations, But even with those mistakes, God often sees fit to step in and help us with a miracle.
He can work with us. Yeah.
And that is so comforting to me, because it's hard being a dad, working hard, trying to do your best, and
getting the flu over Christmas.
Getting the flu, I don't know. And you're trying to be a good parent, But it's like, okay, I'm doing my best, and Antipas was doing his best, and the Stripling Warriors saved the day for at least strategically.
I mean, if it was any other force than the Stripling Warriors had incredible faith because of their upbringing, and like they have the heritage of their people. I think any other green force would not have turned around, but Helaman's Stripling Warriors were there, and they were there when they were needed, which is really cool.
Da, 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 da. Da, da, da.
I don't know it, Talmage. I didn't do my homework.
That's the ending. So the end of the Living Scriptures, it's the mothers singing about their sons.
Oh, man, we needed to have like a watch party and watch this.
Yeah, we should have.
And like react to it as we go.
Yeah. Maybe we can do that next episode. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. This concludes episode 2. Thanks for sticking with us.
This is RM History Podcast coming to you live.
Until next time.
See ya.